Hi there, this is Rick Glumac, and we are in week 5 of the legislative session, and I am in the office of my esteemed colleague Leonard Krog, who is MLA from Nanaimo, and very long-serving MLA. He's been around, he's seen a lot. He has a lot of wisdom that he likes to share and impart on us new MLAs here, and I always look to him for advice. So.
And Mr. Glumac is just too kind, too kind.
So tell us about your office here.
Well, this is a wonderful office I have as caucus chair. If you look around, it's quite spacious. It was in fact Mike Harcourt's office when he was leader of the opposition back in 1987 to 91, after he became party leader. And it's in the historic East Annex of the legislature. Now, for those British Columbians of a certain age, and I'm one of them, the entire East Annex of the legislature was in fact the provincial museum before we had this magnificent structure, which is just less than a block away, literally a hop and a skip across the street. And we have pictures in the entranceway for those of you who want to come and visit your excellent MLA. We have pictures in the entrance to the East Annex in the reception area that show some of the exhibits from those days.
Wow. And yeah, no, it's across the street now, and it's I can't imagine all that stuff being in this. It's not a huge space. But,
it was a much more confined exhibition display. British Columbia was a smaller province, 50, 60 years ago as well. But we have an excellent museum, but this is where it was housed.
Wow. So we're going to take a little walk around here. You guys can kind of see what the East Annex is like. So I'll.
So Rick and I have had a busy week here in the legislature, debating a number of bills. The government's continued to make some really positive announcements for British Columbians. As someone who has served in the legislature for nearly 17 years, I'm particularly thrilled to see us have the bill before the House now that will bring in a referendum on proportional representation. We've also brought in legislation to fix the election date in the fall so that the Auditor General can approve the accounts of government, so that when people vote, they'll know that what the government has said about the state of the provincial finances is in fact true and honest and reflects British Columbians' finances. That's a really important thing to do.
Yeah, and we're in did you mention we're in our first 100 days right now? I think this is day 100 right now.
Day 100. It's gone remarkably quickly. And we haven't got all the way to the New Jerusalem just yet, but we're working our way there quite quickly.
Yeah, and there's a number of offices around here, and we're just kind of looking to see who's around. I don't see too many people around right now, but some of the other stuff that we brought forward this week, closing the rent loophole.
The rent loophole on leases. As many folks watching and listening know, a lot of landlords were taking advantage of the very tight rental market across the province, getting people to enter into fixed-term leases, and when those leases come up, saying the rent's going up 10%, 20%, 30%, which was allowed under the legislation, as opposed to an ongoing tenancy where the amount of each annual increase was limited by statute and law. So that loophole is being eliminated, and the effect of that will be that your landlord won't be able to kick you out at the end of your fixed term lease and won't be able to raise the rent to some horrendous level.
Yeah.
And that's a really important thing, because in a tight housing market, we know that more and more British Columbians are unfortunately not able to get into the housing market themselves. Even the prospect of buying a condominium anywhere in the Lower Mainland is daunting for most families and their income. And so now we have an opportunity to ensure that they at least have their existing housing protected until such time as the prices of housing goes down or there's more availability in the market, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's going to be great news for a lot of renters out there that are concerned about their rents being jacked up at the end of their lease. So that we're very excited about.
And in fairness, it was most importantly another commitment made by the Democratic Party to voters during the campaign. Mm-hmm. And in a world of increasing cynicism and sometimes outright disgust with politicians who don't keep their promises, it's a promise made and a promise kept.
Exactly, and one of the other promises was within the first 100 days to reconvene the climate leadership team and get people working on reducing greenhouse gas emissions here in BC, and we've done that as well this week. The Minister of Environment brought together a new group to look at this issue and to see what we can do to address climate change. So that's starting again as well. So I'm very excited about that, and there's a lot of people, a lot of very amazing people involved in that right now. Any other stories you got for us?
Stories? Well, there's lots of stories.
What was the most interesting thing that's happened to you in your 17 years here? 17 years, that's right?
Yes, well, pretty close.
Yeah.
In the buildings itself, you know what, it's all interesting, and I say this quite sincerely. It's an honor and a privilege to serve as an MLA. There's all kinds of stories, some of which you can tell and could tell, or perhaps shouldn't tell.
Right.
There have been lots of amusing incidents in the legislature in time, and some antics from time to time. But what I can tell everybody is it's a much tamer place than it was a few years ago. There was a time before my time when much of the matters were settled in the Speaker's office over a great deal of alcohol. And even by the time I got here in '91 for one term, things had calmed down a lot. The level of alcohol consumption had diminished, and the people's business was done being done in a more sober manner. Let's put it that way.
Good to hear. Yes. And so we're at the end of week 5, and just wanted to update you on what's going on. And thank you, Leonard, for helping me out.
A pleasure.
We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.